All right, so I've been really enjoying Helldivers. I think it's a game I've been waiting a lot of years for. I don't know why more companies didn't make a game like this. Because we got Warframe 12 years ago, we got Destiny about I don't know 9 years ago, and ever since then it's been kind of piecemeal. You know, these types of games don't come around very often. So I was super skeptical. Um, Beyond my initial playing of Helldivers to be like, okay, not only am I having fun with this, but this has the potential to be something you just continue playing. Like that's something Warframe nailed, right? Like you could put 5,000 hours in Warframe. I mean, you never would have to pick up another game. But I didn't really expect that from Helldivers because it's an unreasonable expectation to do what Warframe had kind of planned out, a decade ago. But now I'm starting to think this might be actually happening. Now, before I talk about the actual reason, I want to show you the mech. This has been making its rounds in on Twitter and like through leaks or whatever. And leaks are leaks or whatever. I'm not really like a leak coverer. But the reason I want to show this is because Helldivers has the stratums that you drop, and these are these things you call down, and they're kind of like reinforcement mechanics to the game. These guys are adding a freaking mech, dude. Like that looks amazing. Now I don't know how it's gonna work as far as I guarantee you're gonna have to type out a freaking dissertation research paper just to call this thing down. like you're gonna break a fingernail trying to type in the stratum code to get this thing onto the ground. But it's freaking awesome. And they're adding some other things that maybe we'll cover it soon here. But I just want to show you guys the mech because they're adding to the game. I got to be honest. I was expecting Helldivers to come make this big splash and then for them to just kind of walk away like they did with Helldivers 1. Again, Helldivers 1 was a pretty solid game, but after they dropped it, they just kind of walked away. But there's something that's insane. And I got to talk to you guys about this because I feel like I'm taking crazy pills because these guys came ready to play. I have not seen a game, and I'm not saying it's going to work, right? Helldivers could die tomorrow, but I haven't really seen a game come with its guns out, ready to be an online live service game. But these guys came ready to fight. So let me show you this article. We have an actual person with the title of Game Master, a single Helldiver 2 dev named Joel, which is hilarious. Hi, Joel, is pulling the strings on its galactic war like an all-powerful D&D dungeon master. War will become more and more sophisticated over time. Now, before I read this article, I want to let that settle in. So, not only does Helldivers have this dynamic system where it's a map, and the map has all these battles, and the lines of war are kind of being pushed around like a piece of chess. Not only does it have these missions that get generated dynamically, I'll be honest, I still can't see the procedural generation with these missions. Maybe the more I'll play, the more. What I'm saying is it's not immediately obvious to me how the missions are generated because usually with procedural generation, after a while, you kind of start to see the code like Neo in the Matrix. So they have all of these things to keep the game feeling fresh, but they've taken it to the insane level of where there's a dude who is dungeon mastering the entire universe. My mind is exploding. The potential of having a person sitting there going, okay, this happens and that happens. I don't know if this guy is like a writer or something. They didn't give his last name. Maybe Joel doesn't have a last name. Maybe Joel, is just Joel. Maybe Joel. Anyway, I'm not going to meme any harder. But we have an actual person with the title of Grandman. So let's go through this real quick because, man, I have a lot to think about here. So Arrowhead has noticed the attachments players have to planets and will make them a character in the future. Helldivers 2 Galactic War is much more than a mission selector. In a short time, players have become invested in the status of their favorite planets and reacted to gains and losses in a sector liberation. The simulated conflict playing out both in game and on social media has become an unexpected focal point of Helldivers 2 experience. So, you guys might not know what's happening. Just like back in the day where Warframe did this thing where one of the relays got blown up if you didn't defend it. This is literally the exact same thing. Credit to Warframe because they did it first. But recently there was a planet that people were really attached to, but they were off doing another mission because I don't know, it had more XP or it had some game. People were motivated to do that. And because they did the other mission, they lost a fight on a planet that they didn't feel motivated to do, and it became this big thing on social media, which is really cool. So I just wanted to give some context on that. Now, um, unexpected to players, that is, the developer Arrowhead Game Studios, the war is a product of careful planning and storytelling by a specific behind the scenes individual pulling the strings. Joel, that Arrowhead CEO, Johan Palstat, described to PC gamers as Helldivers 2's Dungeon Master. We have an actual person with the job title of Dungeon Master, he told PC Gamer in an interview today. His name is Joel, and he takes his job very seriously. What? What is happening? Joel. There's a guy named Joel, and he's puppeting the game from. Okay, anyway, we have a lot of systems built into the game where the game master has a lot of control over the play experience. It's something that we're continuously evolving based on what's happening in the game. And as part of the roadmap, there are things that we want to keep secret because we want to surprise and delight. Dungeons and Dragons has been a major inspiration for Arrowhead. The studio aims to replicate collaborative, reactive storytelling of tabletop gaming in Helldivers 2, acknowledging the differences between designing a campaign for a small party versus millions of players. It's the same format when you build that for millions of players. It's just that you can't get as personal with every individual, but you can still do the same twists and turns. Those twists, as explained by Arrowhead prior to Helldivers 2 release, can be as granular as giving a specific player access to a special stratum mid-mission to spice things up. Oh, holy moly. Okay. Wow. Is that kind of like Independence Day where one guy crashes his plane into the alien spaceship? That would be awesome. Anyway, we got our first taste of these events a week after launch when the offensive campaign against the Terminus was interrupted by automaton. Am I saying that right? Invasions on the opposite end of the galaxy. Arrowhead says it has predictions about how the war will play out and has devised set pieces that it thinks will be significant. But in true tabletop fashion, the story will change based on player behavior. In fact, it already has. Game Master Joel, what the heck, Joel, has already had to grease the wheels for the enemy a few times when the Helldivers community proved a little too efficient at spreading liberty. That's gross. There have been some sudden moments where maybe one planet was too easy or one was too hard, and Joel had to get up in the middle of the night to give the automatons a little bit of reinforcement so the players don't take that planet too quickly. Yeah, Joel, wake up, bro. Stuff's happening. Another moment of improvisation was less obvious. After the community managed to liberate the first batch of Terminate planets faster than Arrowhead anticipated, there was an unplanned day of nothing happening before the automaton invasion was to begin. So Joel, in his infinite wisdom, decided that what happens when a faction wins a portion of a war? Well, they mine everything. That's where the incendiary mine segment came from. Players might remember this is a 24-hour period where the incendiary mine stratum was available for free on all missions, a cheeky, if not vague, moment of payoff. So I'm not going to read the entire thing because this is a PC Gamer article. I'll try to link it. Sometimes I forget to link things. But the whole point, I think, of this, first of all, it's blowing my mind. Like I said, I don't know if this is going to be successful. I'm not trying to like prop up Helldivers 2. There are a lot of stuff about Helldivers 2 that I personally think is not that great. I'm going to be totally honest with you. There are a lot of things that I don't enjoy about the game, but there are a lot more things that I do. So I'm not trying to prop up the game as the next big thing because I have no clue. This game could fail tomorrow. But I think it's really interesting that they came to fight. Like, these are some really innovative things that go beyond what I've typically seen in my lifetime, where, you know, what typically happens, right, is a new game will come out. We've all seen this happen. A new online game will come out where it's essentially a looter game, a MMO, a shared world shooter, a shared world that where it's basically an MMO of sorts, a shared world. And there's never enough content, right? You just can't do it. There's either like a really short story campaign that people will go through, or a complete lack of end game. So many games get hit by this. Destiny got hit by it in the beginning. We saw Lost Ark get hit by that. Almost every game has been hit by this. Warframe started off pretty slow. To their defense, that was a long time ago, but eventually they kind of started working on building things up. But even Warframe has struggled with keeping that flow of content. Like, it has been a struggle for them. The difference is, Helldivers is coming with a different strategy, where not only have they built the game in a way that's very procedural, where the things that are happening around you are kind of generated as you go on, and it keeps things fresh. The map is generated, the missions are generated, things are placed around. The enemies are spawned a certain way. They never spawn in the same way Destiny 1 did. But they've gone a step further, and they have a dude puppeting the entire experience. And that's blowing my mind, because it opens up such creative moments, and something that I like to call like a shared experience, where everyone gets to talk about a thing that's happening. And I think, to me, that is like the holy grail of online gaming. If something happens in a game, right, an online MMO, an online shooter, and it becomes this big thing that everyone is discussing and experiencing together, I think that is the holy grail of online gaming, and it should not be ignored. And it's blowing my mind that these guys are taking a crack at it. They're taking a serious swing by having Joel do this. The fact that this guy doesn't have a last name is probably the funniest thing about the story. But I don't know. You guys let me know, like, what do you think about this? But I'm gonna be honest, even if this doesn't work, I think there's something to be learned here about the nature of online games, and giving people content and having things happen and keeping people engaged, by having a person at the wheel. And I think a lot of other games have not had a person at the wheel, because, if we're being honest, a lot of gaming is stuck in a non-live service manner, where you release a game and then you do DLC, DLC, DLC. That's what Destiny does. Warframe does it as well, where we don't really call them DLCs, but they're like little updates, and then you get the major DLC once or twice per year. A major story quest, a major character, but they're DLCs. That's what it is. It is the old way of making games. Whereas something like this is probably the first time I'm going, wait, this is actually a live service concept. And again, I don't know if it's going to fail or be great, but this is actually a concept to do a live service game. It's a genuine attempt at it, and man, wow, I'm speechless. I'm really curious of how this works out. I don't know. You guys let me know. That's pretty amazing. All right, talk to you later.